Zambia has recently reached a significant agreement with its bilateral lenders led by China. This agreement includes a 3-year grace period on interest payments, that is coupons, as well as delaying of the maturity dates or repayment of the principal amounts are going to be delayed. What does this agreement entail? And what about the rest of the Eurobonds? Because this is just a proportion of the entire debt stock of Zambia. So what happens to the rest of the Eurobonds? Well, this is what I'm going to look at on today's episode. I'm looking at Zambia's debt agreement with China, a game changer for its economic recovery. Let's get started. Hello there, entrepreneurs, investors, as well as business owners. Welcome to today's episode of the Ndalama Insights. My name is Mukonkela, and I produce programs such as this. If you've subscribed to my channel, a million thank yous to you for subscribing to my channel. If you haven't subscribed already, I don't know what you're waiting for, because you will be missing out on important news such as this. So subscribe right now by clicking the subscribe button. It is at the bottom. It is down here. Click subscribe right now. And as you're doing that, don't forget to turn on that bell icon, because it's a reminder every time I am on. Okay, so you will be reminded every time I release a video. Before we dive into the importance of this agreement, I would like us to take stock of Zambia's current debt position. From the latest information that I have, Zambia has a total debt stock of about 27 billion United States dollars. This is comprised of foreign debt, which stands at about 16.8 billion United States dollars, and about 10.1, which represents local debt. So these are bonds, by the way. The foreign debt is what we refer to as the Eurobonds, and we have local debt as well, which stands at 10.1. Now, out of 16.8 billion, China owns about 22% of that debt. And then we have 46%, which is owed to private lenders. And majority of these private lenders are investors in BlackRock, which is an American investment company or fund investment company. So 46% of this foreign debt is owned by private investors from abroad, individuals like you and me that are interested in investing in government bonds, and then go to a fund manager called BlackRock, and we give them our money so that they can invest in investment vehicles that are profitable, and then they identify Zambia's bonds as a profitable investment opportunity. So 46% of Zambia's foreign debt is owed to these private individuals that have invested through BlackRock, which is an American fund investment company. I need you to really understand this. Majority of the other debt, the remaining debt, is owed to multilateral lenders, the IMF, the World Bank, and others. But I want us to focus on the 46% owed to private foreign lenders, and the 22% owed to China. We will also take a look at the local debt, which really doesn't pose a significant threat. And I might as well just talk about this right now. Local debt is normally prioritized because if the government doesn't pay local debt, first of all, local debt is based in local currency. And so it's easy to say that government can easily print the kwachas and pay local debt. It's possible, but they don't really do that as often as you think, because it messes up the economy. It results in high inflation and messes up the economy of the country. But at the same time, government doesn't really want to default on local bondholders, because, as I've said, it's going to mess up the economy, and people are going to feel the repercussions, and it's the last thing the government wants to do. So, and I like to look at this like, you've lent to a neighbor and somebody who lives in another country, and you share the same road with your neighbor. You don't want to mess up with your neighbor. Those are local bondholders, because they might create a very terrible situation for you. You live with them, right? So it's easier for you to prioritize them and then, look at that lender who's based in another country later on. I mean, that's how I like to look at local and foreign debts. It's very lame and I don't know, but that's how I would like to look at it. And so with local debt, the risk is not really, it's there, but local bondholders are prioritized, which is why we are now talking about foreign lenders. Now, this agreement, let's come back to this debt restructuring agreement that the government of Zambia, by the way, kudos to the government of Zambia for them attaining this agreement, because it was not an easy task. As you can see just from the composition of the Eurobond, you can see that its majority of the money is owed to private lenders. That's what has made this really tricky. But when it comes to China, I think we need to really give a big applause to the government for clinching this agreement with China and other bilateral lenders. What does it mean? So there are two things that they're talking about in this debt restructuring agreement. The first one is the grace period, 3-year grace period when it comes to paying the interest. So what this means is, for the next 3 years, the government of Zambia will not pay the coupons that they were supposed to be paying foreign lenders. So they've been given a grace period or period for them not to pay within the next 3 years the interest or coupon payments on the Eurobonds. Okay? Now, look at this. This is just 6.8 billion United States dollars out of a foreign debt stock of 16.8 billion. What happens to the balance of the 10.1? We are going to look at that very soon. The other part of this agreement is delaying the maturity dates for the 6.8 billion United States dollars debt. So what this means is, if a Eurobond was supposed to mature in 2025, they are going to delay it further, maybe by, I don't know how many years. They haven't really stated. At this point, I'm not so clear about how further they are going to delay the maturity dates. But what these two things mean is that government is going to have some breathing space, and they're going to have much more cash flow rather than spending the cash flow on paying back, these lenders in terms of coupon interests as well as principal amounts on the bonds. As they mature, government is going to have some breathing space. So instead of directing the cash to repaying back these debts, they can now utilize the cash to invest in infrastructure projects, in social transfer programs, in manufacturing, in agriculture, and in the economy, basically. So government is going to have much more money to spend in the economy, and this is going to result in much more job opportunities, creation of job opportunities, and also strengthening of the Zambian economy, so that we can, at least I hope finally, the economy can start improving and businesses are going to start thriving and doing much better than we've been doing in the recent past. And also, this deal was very fundamental, especially when it comes to the IMF. The IMF really wanted this debt restructured, particularly with China, because it opens up the way for other investors to invest in Zambia, including opening up opportunities for the IMF to contribute towards Zambia, and as a result also strengthen the economy. And so these are the two things that we've heard so far that are in this debt agreement that Zambia has signed with China and other bilateral lenders. It's for a total amount of 6.8 billion, and it covers a grace period of 3 years on interest payments, as well as delaying the maturity dates on these Eurobonds. So it's 16.8 billion United States dollars, and only about 6.8 has been restructured. What happens to the 10 billion United States dollars? And remember, the 10 billion, majority, 46%, is owned to private investors who've invested their money through BlackRock. What happens to that? Now, we've all heard that these private investors have been very skeptical in terms of agreeing to Zambia's debt restructuring deals. And by the way, when Zambia started these discussions of debt restructuring, their focus was on actually writing off the debt. And IMF really wanted China and other bilateral lenders to consider writing off Zambia's debt. It was a tall ask, if you ask me. So as we now know, China has agreed to delay, interest repayments as well as principals, but not write off the debt. I expect the private lenders as well to take a similar path. Right now, yes, we've gotten the 6.8 billion restructured. Zambia's unfortunately, economic woes will not be able to just go away if we don't look at the 10 point whatever billion dollars as well. And so I assume that the government is going to take a similar approach to the private lenders that they owe money to. And so we expect that they are going to seek grace periods for interest payments, delaying of maturity dates, and similar actions that they've struck with the bilateral lenders. There have been some groupings, organizations abroad that have been protesting on behalf of Zambia for private lenders to write off the debt, because they claim that these Eurobonds were obtained at very low prices, and that they can write off at least 50% of those Eurobonds. But then BlackRock has insisted they've got a fiduciary duty to their lenders, meaning that they are making decisions for the best interest of their lenders, and as a result, they cannot just write off the debt. So for me, prudence shows me that the best approach is some kind of debt restructuring similar to what Zambia has struck with China and its bilateral lenders. Now, we should not celebrate too much, because in as much as this is going to provide some kind of breathing space for Zambia to redirect the cash to the economy, Zambia also has to embrace fiscal discipline. Fiscal discipline is about good financial management for governments, meaning that the government of Zambia will have to ensure that they strengthen revenue generation through the taxes, and also ensure that they spend money in areas or sectors that are going to be profitable and sustainable in the long term, that are going to result in more revenue generation for the economy, so that Zambia improves its gross domestic produce, GDP. And also, Zambia needs to look at its debt management. Zambia cannot continue incurring more debt in future, which is why I think the private partnerships also become extremely essential. And I've seen a lot of effort in terms of the government of Zambia is energies towards private partnerships. And so in as much as Zambia has struck this brilliant deal that we are all celebrating, we should not celebrate more than we need in order for us to strengthen our economy further, by ensuring that government improves its fiscal discipline and also ensures that they manage the debt really well. So in conclusion, Zambia's agreement with China and other bilateral lenders is great news for Zambia, because it provides breathing space for Zambia to direct its cash to its economy. But also Zambia has to now focus on private lenders, the 10 billion other private lenders that Zambia owes. And at the same time, Zambia must ensure fiscal discipline and proper debt management so that we don't find ourselves in a similar situation. So this is great news, and I hope it is something that is going to allow our economy to start making progress so that we can see more creation of jobs for our citizens and our businesses can thrive as entrepreneurs. I mean, this is something we've been crying for so that we can see our businesses growing. Well, what do you think about Zambia's deal with China and other bilateral lenders? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you've enjoyed today's video, let me know. Say something somewhere, okay? For those that have subscribed to my channel, a million thank you to you for subscribing to my channel. For those that have been subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for. Today could be the day. Subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button. It is at the top. It is up here. Click subscribe right now. Thank you so much for joining, and see you next time.